Many large American companies had within them individuals and small groups desperate to innovate in the same way. For example, since the 60s, there were people within General Motors, I know I've talked to them, who were designing super efficient cars with technologies like electricity and hybrid electric or even hydrogen. And yet senior management, I think, had a lack of imagination and a resistance to change. There was a sense that if you just keep doing what you've always done, you're safe.
The California Energy Commission led the way into that revolution in improving the efficiency with which we control and use and generate energy.
The Department of Energy in California has been the most intelligent energy conserving, I think, governmental body probably in the world. You know, they set in motion the ability for people who had solar collectors or wind generators to run their meter backwards and put their locally made electricity back into the grid and get paid for it. Very early on, this is mid-1970s.
Jimmy Carter had a terrific energy policy that had the goal of getting at least 20% of the nation's energy from renewable energy resources by the year 2000, and a series of proposed policies that, had they been implemented, actually would have gotten us there. He had solar water heaters installed on the White House roof.
A generation from now, this solar heater can either be a curiosity, a museum piece, an example of a road not taken, or it can be just a small part of one of the greatest ventures ever undertaken by the American people.
He gave me the best job of my life running the Federal Solar Energy Research Institute, and a budget that increased and doubled every year that I was there, and the opportunity to really do some important things.
The energy crisis has not yet overwhelmed us, but it will if we do not act quickly. It's a problem that we will not be able to solve in the next few years, and it's likely to get progressively worse through the rest of this century. We must not be selfish or timid if we hope to have a decent world for our children and our grandchildren. We simply must balance our demand for energy with our rapidly shrinking resources. By acting now, we can control our future instead of letting the future control us.
Carter, I think, made a fundamental mistake, which was that he saw the transition as one of constraint and as one of privation and of giving up and of lowered lifestyle.
In a period from 1973 to 1980, the price of oil went from $4 a barrel to $30 a barrel. And that clearly was enough to cause the public to support things like fuel efficiency standards for automobiles and other things that would have been inconceivable unless you'd had a crisis.
I'm Jack Lemmon for the Sierra Club. America's energy crisis is much more than just a fuel shortage.
Believe me, today we all have to do our bit to conserve energy. It just can't be wasted.
You know, at the rate the world is using its oil, we'd have to discover a new Alaska or Texas every 6 months.
The energy problems we face are real and they're serious, and they're not going to get any better unless we all help.
Energy conservation is not just a Band-Aid solution. It is the only means that we have to keep our economy and environment healthy.
They tell us we must learn to live with less and teach our children that their lives will be less full and prosperous than ours have been. That the America of the coming years will be a place where, because of our past excesses, it will be impossible to dream and make those dreams come true. I don't believe that. and I don't believe you do either. That's why I'm seeking the presidency. I cannot and will not stand by and see this great country destroy itself. Our leaders attempt to blame their failures on circumstances beyond their control, on false estimates by unknown, unidentifiable experts who rewrite modern history in an attempt to convince us our high standard of living, the result of thrift and hard work, is somehow selfish extravagance, which we must renounce as we join in sharing scarcity.
I'm much more aware now than I was earlier of the role of personalities. Who you elect as President of the United States, and frankly President of a dozen other countries, really matters. With the right president and the right policies queued up and ready to be put into place, we could have done something significant. It was a major failure of my generation that we didn't get that done.
There you go again.
For reasons that I just cannot begin to comprehend, Reagan did his very best to completely shut down the renewable energy effort. In the instance of the institute that I led, he reduced our budget by more than 80%, fired half of the staff, and fired all of our contractors, 2 of whom subsequently went on to win Nobel Prizes. It was just devastating. But for 1 year, we did have within it an element of a very good energy policy.
It's morning again in America. And under the leadership of President Reagan, our country is prouder and stronger and better. Why would we ever want to return to where we were?
The Reagan White House has finally dismantled the last vestiges of the Carter administration. Workmen have now taken down the solar water heating system installed on the White House roof in 1979.
We lost 30 years.
A generation from now, this solar heater can either be a curiosity, a museum piece, an example of a road not taken.
We still have a lot of options if we haven't passed the tipping point. And this is where the science starts getting a little scary.
No external force is imposing these environmental problems on us. They have arisen because every morning 6 billion people get up and have breakfast and go to work and do their thing and come home at night. Environmental problems emerge out of daily life, and the solutions for the environmental problems are also rooted in daily life. We need 6 billion people to get up and have a different consciousness and do things differently. Is that realistic? Probably not. But it's at least the hope or the belief I have, which has been able to sustain 35 years of work on this effort, and it's the one I'll keep for the next 10 or 20 years as long as I'm able to keep working.